Wait, here it is. This work session, regular meeting of the Township Council, is called to order. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this work session, regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers a list of dates annually, indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, April 9th, 2013. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation, which will be given by Deputy Mayor Rosalind Sherman.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us take the next few moments of silence to each seek in our own way whatever sources of inspiration will grant us the strength and power in our thoughts and decisions to be for the benefit of all people at all times. Amen.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll of the council.
Councilman Chase. Here. Councilwoman Francois.
Here.
Councilman Kramer. Mayor Levine.
Here.
Councilman Prasad.
Here.
Councilman Regan. Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Here.
Councilman Vasanella.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Okay, thank you. We're following along on our agenda. They're over here by our clerk, Ms. McCarthy. Please feel free to get up at any time. Get one along with associated resolutions or ordinances. We're now at item number 5, commendations and proclamations. And I'll got a few, and we'll be joined. Gee, thank you.
Right.
Gee, important to take my time. By Councilman James Vasanella, Councilman Rajiv Prasad, and Deputy Mayor Rosalind Sherman.
We do these first.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yes.
All together?
One at a time.
We'll do this.
Yeah, one at a time.
Here you go.
What is this?
Just
Okay, tonight we're acknowledging our volunteer videographers, and I'll give a real quick history. Back in about 2003 or 4, when Franklin was talking about, well, I think they were talking even longer about starting their own public access station, government access station, which we had, but just never got it up and running. So, I walked into Joyce Miller's office one day and said, when are we going to start this? She goes, a bunch of people have been asking that. This is back about 10 years ago. Okay, so we put a crew together. We got the TV station that's broadcasting this right now built. They were doing everything at the time, from Memorial Day parades to meetings. Because we wanted to make sure all the meetings, which was our main focus, get broadcast on a regular basis, we went to a paid contractor who's doing it now, and I believe has been with us the entire time. So the video volunteer program kept going for a while, but then kind of died out because we just didn't have the leadership to keep it going. Fast forward about 6 years, and a handful of us council members and others in the public wanted to see the volunteer videography program reenacted. So that's what we did. It's a long story how we did it, but we did it. And I'm the liaison to the cable committee. First thing we did was get that back up and running, get a full staff there. We've had great people on there. And Victory Chase, which is in the audience tonight, is our present chairwoman, who I kind of coaxed into consider leading up this effort, and along with the help of Amanda Johnson, I believe, and our own Joyce Miller, who not just is our purchasing agent, but has been instrumental in making all things happen with our cable committee, especially this video volunteer program. So that's that's the 2 minutes of the last 10 years with this. So it's up and running. There's great videos on YouTube and on our website, on our station, that I'm sure our leader of the group might talk about a little bit more. But I just wanted to give you that little snippet of history. And although it's a pilot program, we're hoping some way we could keep it going, because I find it, and many of us, as an invaluable resource for the community. With that all said, I'm going to read a brief proclamation here and call up the volunteers that have made this such a successful program. Whereas the utilization of volunteer services has become necessary in providing special services to our community, and whereas the following volunteers has graciously donated time and talent by videotaping and editing various boards and commission meetings and special programs to be aired on FTTV. Fran Fountain, Mike Fucci, Paula Jones, Elizabeth Martin, Everett Orange, Fred Orange, and Victory Chase, the leader of the group. Whereas the Township of Franklin wishes to recognize these individuals for their continued cooperation and to encourage the voluntary participation of others in this valuable service. And whereas the Township of Franklin wishes to recognize these individuals for their dedicated efforts towards developing a sense of community spirit through their service. And now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Brian D. Levine, Mayor, and James Vasanella, Councilman, do hereby recognize these individuals for their outstanding service to the Township of Franklin and its entire community. Now, people behind the camera tend to be shy, but you've got to come up to receive this. Anyone here that is part of the program, everyone. There's only a handful, but you're all well-deserving of being recognized. So I'm going to let anyone, starting off with Victory, to say a few words. Well, you want to, whatever you come.
Well, I'm very grateful for the volunteers who answered the call to service, and we have been working very hard for a little more than a year on these videos. And I also want to say that we could not do as much as we have without the support of the council and many members of the municipal staff, in particular the IT department, the recreation department, and the whole municipal building staff, because we've called on their services in various ways, and they have stepped forward and always been supportive and encouraging. So it's not just the four of us and the gentlemen who are not here tonight, but there are many more people behind us who are working to make this program a success. But in particular, I thank the volunteers.
When you see a video and you were behind the camera before it was done, it's a real treat. And we're all very grateful, too, for the opportunity to have worked on it and put in the time and effort. But this is the woman who did it all. She did a great job.
Yes, you get one.
Okay, and the others, Anne-Marie?
We'll have them mailed. We'll have them mailed to the people who will not be able to come tonight. I'm sure they wanted to. And again, I want to recognize Joyce Miller, because without a wonderful staff contact person, a program like this just simply cannot survive. So she definitely went beyond the call of duty in this regard. And presently, Victory Chase, besides wearing the hat of leading this group, is our Cable Television Advisory Committee chairwoman in a very important time now where we have a lot of work going on. Thank you very much.
Roz, you want to go ahead?
Good evening. This week represents the days of remembrance of the victims of the Holocaust. The Holocaust did not just affect the Jewish population, it affected an awful lot of other people. They'll be listed from homosexuals to gypsies, but it's something that affects all of us. If there can be that kind of inhumanity toward a cultured civilization, then it can happen anywhere and at any time. We must all be vigilant and not let this happen to any minority in any country ever, ever again. So, this is the proclamation. Whereas the Holocaust was the state-sponsored systematic persecution and annihilation of European Jewry by Nazi Germany and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945. 6 million were murdered. Roma, which are gypsies, people with disabilities. The Poles were also targeted for destruction or decimation for racial, ethnic, or national reasons, and millions more, including homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses, Soviet prisoners of war, and political dissidents also suffered grievous oppression and death under Nazi tyranny. Whereas the history of the Holocaust offers an opportunity to reflect on the moral responsibilities of individuals, societies, and governments, and whereas we, the people of the Township of Franklin, should always remember the terrible events of the Holocaust and remain vigilant against hatred, persecution, and tyranny. And whereas we, the people of the Township of Franklin, should actively rededicate ourselves to the principles of individual freedom in a just society. And whereas the days of remembrance have been set aside for the people of the Township of Franklin to remember the victims of the Holocaust, as well as to reflect on the need for respect of all peoples. And whereas, pursuant to an act of Congress, the United States Holocaust Memorial Council designates the days of remembrance of the victims of the Holocaust to be Sunday, April 7th through Sunday, April 14th, 2013, including the Day of Remembrance known as Yom HaShoah, April 8th, 2013. Now, therefore, we, Rosalind Sherman, Deputy Mayor, and Brian D. Levine of the Township of Franklin do hereby proclaim the week of Sunday, April 7th through Sunday, April 14th, 2013 as days of remembrance in memory of the victims of the Holocaust and in honor of the survivors as well as the rescuers and the liberators, and further proclaim that we as citizens of the Township of Franklin should work to promote human dignity and confront hate whenever and wherever it occurs.
Ms. Sava and Shireen and the Pushti family, please come on up. Yeah, come on up here, please. Please, come on up. So this started last year when Ms. Sava, we were doing proclamations, and she says, well, it's time for Nowruz, and you should recognize that as there is a large population of Persian Americans here in town, and as a result, we should recognize the Parsi New Year. So this is the proclamation. I'll read it, and after that, I'll ask Ms. Saba and Shireen to say a few words about Nowruz. So, the Parsi New Year, Jamshed-e Nowruz, is celebrated on the first day of the first month of the Shanshai calendar, followed by the Zoroastrian faith, and whereas it is named after the Persian ruler Jamshed, in whose reign the festival began, Jamshedi Navroz is symbolic of rejuvenation and rebirth. And whereas festivities of Navroz begin with cleaning and decorating of homes, where jasmine and roses are primarily used for decoration as well as other symbolic objects of Navroz, and whereas Parsis visit the fire temple for Thanksgiving prayers and offering sandalwood sticks to the fire, and after prayers they greet each other, Sal Mubarak, and exchange gifts, and whereas to signify prosperity, wealth, color, productivity, sweetness, and happiness, it is the custom to lay down a table and place a copy of the gatas, a lit lamp or candle, a shallow ceramic plate, and with sprouted wheat or beans, a small bowl with a silver coin, flowers, painted eggs, sweets, and rose water, and a bowl of water containing a goldfish. And now, therefore, we, Brian D. Levine, Mayor, and Rajiv Prasad, Councilman of the Township and the Town Council of Franklin Township, County of Somerset, New Jersey, do hereby acknowledge the celebration of Navroz and encourage all residents of the Township of Franklin to celebrate Navroz with various activities and programs to learn about its historical significance. Personally, my great-grandfather was a very fluent speaker of Farsi. It was the court language of India till the British came. So we inherited a lot from the Persians. So, oh, that was different. Yeah, but with that, I would ask Ms. Saba. Here's a copy of it for you, and here's a copy of it for you. So, Shireen, if you would, one of our members of our Human Relations Commission, Shireen, as also a product of our Franklin Township school system, and to be pharmacist from Rutgers. Please, Shireen, say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to thank Councilman Rajiv Prasad and Mayor Brian Levine, as well as the Franklin Township Council, for the proclamation for the Persian New Year, also known as Nowruz. So Nowruz, which means new day in Persian or Farsi, is celebrated on the first day of spring. It's with Zoroastrian roots. It's a symbolic holiday with rich history that dates back over 3,000 years. And what I especially love about this holiday is that Persians of all backgrounds and religions, whether they be Baha'i, Muslims, Christians, Jews, Zoroastrians, all celebrate together in the bringing of a joyous and happy new year. And with that, I will leave you all with an old Nowruz saying from which says, "Good thought, good word, good deed. To the year end, happy indeed." Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Saba.
Thank you. I think Shireen said it all, and I'm so happy to get to know Shireen. This is the first time I see her, and I want especially thanks Councilman Rajiv Prasad and also Mayor Levine, especially Councilman Prasad, for pursuing this. It's great that we are going to do this. Besides Franklin Township, I know that Somerset County has a lot of Iranians of all ethnicities and all belief system, and they would be really happy to know that Franklin Township probably is the first one in the state to be doing this. I don't know of any other, and if I know of any other, I'll let you know. And of course, we are going to publicize this so other people know and other people would celebrate it. Actually, from only adding one thing that to what Shireen said is that in Iran, the Nowruz is celebrated exactly at the time, 2nd and the minutes and the second. For example, this year was 7:31 and 56 seconds, and that's where it's being celebrated, and people sit around the table. Actually, I showed a picture, and I'm planning to make a copy of the history of Nowruz and what Nowruz is and how it's being celebrated. I would make a copy of it and leave it here, or make extra copies and leave it on the with the clerk. Also, I would like to suggest if it's possible to post it later on part of the event and knowledge and culture of the town. I would help in any way possible. And my suggestion is that I would promise for next year I would be working from now on with whomever at the township to have a celebration of Iranian New Year with the whole setting and maybe some of the food that we celebrate. We are going to have bring the community together for that event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Saba. We love a party, so anytime you're welcome. Now for the next one, which is the Festival of Holi, and we have a proclamation at a direct request. All the people who are here for Holi, Mr. Desai and Mr. Patel and everybody, please come on up. And so please come on up. And I just wanted to acknowledge Mr. Patel for all the sweets he handed out to all of us. So here we go. Here's the proclamation. Whereas the ancient festival of India, originally known as Holika, was a special rite performed by married women for the happiness and well-being of their families. And whereas the significance of the day has changed with time and has evolved into a socio-cultural, religious, and biological festival of the celebration of the joy and the colors of spring. And whereas Holi is celebrated at a time of the year when the fields are in full bloom and people are expecting a good harvest, giving them good reason to rejoice, make merry, and submerge themselves in the spirit of Holi. And whereas the many legends associated with the festival reassure the people of the power of truth, as the moral of all the legends is the ultimate victory of good over evil, including the legend of Lord Krishna, who started the tradition of play with colors by applying color on his beloved devotee Radha. And whereas it is believed that play with colors helps to promote good health and have an important place in maintaining a healthy body, that manifests itself in the tradition of applying Holi, which is celebrated by non-Hindus and Hindus alike, helps to bring the society together and strengthen the secular fabric of our country. And now, therefore, we, Brian D. Levine, Mayor, and Rajiv Prasad of the Township of Franklin and the Town Council of the County of Somerset, New Jersey, do hereby acknowledge the celebration of Holi and encourage all residents of the Township of Franklin to celebrate Holi with various activities and programs to learn about its historical significance. With that, I would ask Chandrakant Desai to say a few words about Holi. And Mrs. Desai, I'll give you the proclamation. Please.
Honorable Mayor Mr. Brian Levine, Honorable Councilman Rajiv Prasad, and all the honorable council members and friends. On behalf of the Indo-American community of Franklin Township, it's my great pleasure to thank the whole council and Honorable Mayor for proclamation of the Holy Festival, which it means the council is recognizing the feelings of the Indian people, and for that we are very fortunate to have such a council to recognize the feelings of the Indian community. This particular festival is a festival of colors, and irrespective of caste, religion, creed, or any kind of distinction in India, as well as over here in the United States, we Indians or Indo-Americans celebrate this holy festival with colors. And colors ultimately, it gives something new feeling, some extraordinary feeling that you see, life is monotonous. And out of that monotony, we have to come out. And if it is to be compared, it can be compared in the United States with Halloween. In Halloween also, the monotony of life is there, which we rather break it by the costumes, different kinds of costumes. So it gives color, it gives some new imagination to life. And imagination is very important in the world, and for that I would quote our neighbor in Princeton, Albert Einstein. He told that imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited, but imagination is limitless. And from that point of view, you see, this particular two festivals, in India, this color festival of colors, Holi, and here this Halloween, that connects us to the imagination. And the world is more benefited by imagination rather than even knowledge. Imagination has changed the world. So, from that point of view, such festivals are very important, not only for one community, but for all. And anybody can join. And here, when we see this festival being celebrated, we see even the Americans who are not of Indian origin also they join. Because ultimately, it's a kind of joy to connect ourselves to the imagination. Now, as far as now in short, I would tell you that in India, in the villages, the people celebrate in such a way that they have cows, they have bulls, they have goats, they have horses, even they also are being colored. You see, it shows that, you see, we are all the children of God, irrespective of whether they may be animals. We are also one of the animals. In the animal species, we are one of them. So, ultimately, we are all children of God. So, that kind of broad understanding and thinking also comes out of such festivals. And it makes the life more lively, worth living. And in India, the people even dance. It is connected with the dance. They call it Ras in India. It's connected with dance and playing on the instruments and singing. So it's a joy and that particularly comes at the time of spring season. So when the spring means the nature itself is also just jumping in the spring, and we also jump in accordance with the nature too. So these are the festivals which promotes the life in India, as well as all over the United States, wherever the Indians are there. So I think there's enough to introduce you something about this particular festival, and on behalf of the Indian community, I thank Honorable Mayor, Honorable Rajiv Prasad, and all the council members. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Desai. And thank you for the sweets. If anybody missed them, do you have any left? Or? Especially our CFO gets some. She signs our paycheck.
Thank you, Mr. Desai. Good Thank you, too. Oh, really? Okay, I gotta go look again.
Milk. And sugar.
Okay, thank you all of you very much. We're now at item number 6 on the report, on the agenda, the mayor's report. And today my mug is from Rutgers, of which I'm an alum from my undergraduate. My MBA is from there also. And usually I like it when Rutgers can make national news, but it made it this week under circumstances which we may have not wanted it to be. So I'm glad Rutgers is pursuing the right course in any endeavor. I think people in responsible positions who have the emotional age of a 5-year-old don't deserve to have positions of authority, much less $500,000 jobs. So I hope this embarrassment to our state passes over. And on another note, I think some of the people there insult our intelligence when they say others didn't know what was happening either. So I'm proud of Rutgers. It's a great state university. It's growing, becoming better, so I look forward to all the good things that's happening from there, as it has before. I'm going to keep the mayor's report a little bit shorter today, just to say, as a foreshadow, we are having our fireworks. They should go off on, I forget the day. The 3rd. Thank you. I wouldn't have been there without you mentioning it. Thank you. July 3rd, before Independence Day. That's everyone's invited. That's always a great event. Our meetings are generally the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of the month, with the exception of July and August, and December, which is only on the 2nd Tuesday. And that's all I'm going to have for today. That concludes the mayor's report. So go to item number 7, Deputy Mayor's report, from Deputy Mayor Rosalind Sherman.
My report will be briefer than yours. I have no report.
Okay. You win this week.
Yes, okay.
Okay. We come to item number 8 now, which is public discussion. This will be the only time to speak of items of a general nature. A little later on, there's going to be an opportunity to speak on a particular ordinance, but it'll be limited to that one. So if you want anything of a general nature, this is the time. We're always glad to hear from everybody. As is our policy, everyone comes up once per meeting, and you have 5 minutes to tell us what's on your mind, ask us any questions. After 3 minutes has elapsed, you'll hear a tone go off from our timer, and after 5 minutes, you'll hear multiple tones. I'm going to ask you to wrap up your thoughts. Please direct all your comments to the council, and if anyone should answer, also direct. So, is there a motion to open the meeting for public discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on any item of interest to the public. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand. When I recognize you, come to the podium, give us your name and address. Keep the microphone about 3 or 4 inches from you. That way we can hear it, or it's picked up on our audio. And please note, we're being audio taped, videotaped for our public access channel. So just kind of pull the microphone close. No, pull close to yourself so we can hear you. No, pull up so it's right in front of your mouth.
I want you to hear, but I'll try.
Yeah. A little closer still, about 3 inches away, 3 or 4 inches. And then your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Mel Markowitz, associated with Lorraine's Junior Department Store, located at 560 Hamilton Street, right here in Somerset, established in 1955. Today, my concerns are with public safety and the poor perception of Hamilton Street. Something needs to be done. I attended a meeting along with some of the other Hamilton Street merchants where we met with Chief Roberts and Deputy Chief Grammer. And their thought and theory was that they felt that there should be a reinstatement of the community policing policy would help our area. We need your help, and we pay our fair share of taxes. I was hoping for some allowance within the budget. I understand that the budget has its constraints, and the police basically have done their best job. Our area is like going to the dentist. Let's treat the area of decay first, and the good of the body will follow right behind. Treat Hamilton Street, and the township will prosper. We on Hamilton Street should be not forgotten child. We helped build the town from the start. Hopefully and respectfully, I ask for your help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, gentlemen, then Mr. Tibbs next.
Mayor, Council, Art Latanzio. I have 2 properties in the Hamilton Street District, and I'm also the treasurer for the SID Board, the Hamilton Street Business Board. As you're aware, you see our budget every year that we float, and you see the little, if any, of the few dollars that we allocate to additional police patrols in our area. Last year, I believe we used about $4,500 that we budgeted. This year, we're basically we can't go back to the property owners and ask them for more money. I mean, there's more vacancies on Hamilton Street, like everybody's aware, and things are really tight down there, and you know, the perception's out there. We all know what's going on. I mean, we had the issue after Sandy with the break-ins, the smash and goes, etc. And it's just the perception after dark. It's not a safe environment. I myself, like I said, I have a property on each end of the zone. I wouldn't walk down Hamilton Street at night. But you know, what we're asking is you know, to help us out. We need a little bit of help. We need some you know, budget money. I don't know if it comes out of surplus or where it comes from, but we need the extra police patrols down there on Hamilton Street. It is the oldest business district in the town. I'm born and raised in this town, and we grew up, it was the only business district. We're asking our property owners, fellow property owners now, going on 6 years, whatever it is, to just, you know, keep chalking up money, and you know, we can't ask the property owners for enough money to float what we need. And if you guys can pick up and help us out with the extra patrols up and down Hamilton Street to help create a safe environment down there, that might be the turning point, so we can get some people interested in investing in some of the busted down houses and, you know, the rezoning that we spoke to other council people about, to get the ball rolling, to revitalize the area. And we feel that that's probably, that along with the property maintenance, that's the first step, a secure, safe corridor to attract investors. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tibbs.
Johnny Tibbs, 25 Parkside. I'd say it again, pardon my appearance. I haven't gotten home yet from work. I'm delivering flowers. I had to stop past the park and
No, we'll take this one. Take that one.
it's getting hot, gentlemen, and it's quite obvious if you ride past Hamilton Park, name of Women's Park, you would see several groups of individuals in certain pockets, and each pocket is crowded. And right now, everybody has an understanding of what their role they're supposed to play. Thanks to some other people in the community. And as far as the gentleman talking about Hamilton Street, I fail to see where there's any type of disruptions or robberies or killings or anything like Hamilton Street. Hamilton Street is one of the safest places in New Jersey, and I'll vie for that. I know, because they're in the park. So, you know. I'm basically coming here for Mr. Hornblocker and the rest of the council people. I want to get this one thing resolved in terms of the
And their
Go on
head.
your head. Oh. Been there, done that.
We can all relate to that one, Sean.
I'm telling you. I want to get this one thing solved. By the way, before I get to this, I broke up a little fight today in the park, in the Hamilton Park. See, guys, you know, I have larger, bigger problems than, I know you guys have the municipal problems and so forth, but I have the little bitty, the nitty-gritty things that develops into larger things. And I try to, one of my favorite things is to nip stuff at the bud, if I possibly can. Put my life out there, you know. It's what I live for. And when the Indian was here, besides people, I wanted to tell them while they was here that I too am a fan of Mahatma Gandhi's in terms of I find myself, and I lose myself into helping other people. That's what I do for the rest of my life. So I look for little things to do. In terms of the pool controversy, I think I'm hoping that it has been dissolved in terms of the last two items of the some playing items for the kids to have in the pool, and the shoes that I've found to be very sticking point for the Township Recreation Department. But I want to add one particular thing. You know, the history of that area has had a bad name for years. And I want guys to understand that we are doing our best to make that place to come along with the fifth best place to live in New Jersey is in Franklin Township, and we are part of that fifth best place to live, and we want to keep it that way. That's why I don't know why. You know, of course, the pool, the first original thing the kids could have to put the shoes on in the pool was there was glass in the pool. I would clean the glass out of the pool. Then it came up to where the pool had abrasive sides of the pool to stop the kids from having fun. All right, now there's no more abrasive sides on the pool. Now there's a point of they want some insurance input. Now, you know, we can go on and on and on and on, but I think you have to understand that that's why all the trees was cut down in the same park. That's why all the benches was taken out for the young adult black adults in their particular area. All the benches were taken out. The benches were put back. And if I keep saying these things, you will see there is a pattern. It becomes a pattern of things to undermine the freeness and the joy a person can use in the park. Now, I've said several things now, and it's in the same park, the same people from the Recreation Department makes these type of policies, which is insulting. And I hope we come to the conclusion of now where the kids can have fun. I've talked to the parents today. They told me they're so happy that the kids will be able to use the pool for the summer, and the kids don't have to pay any money for the camp this summer, and they're all happy. They're looking forward to have a nice summer. Now, what I'm saying now to you is that, and I've went to other swimming pools. I've been to Plainfield. Mr. Johnson thought it was an insult that anybody would ask for the kids to put shoes in the pool. I went to New Brunswick, Mr. Spivey and them said, no, they don't require any kids having shoes to put in the pools. At YMCA in Somerville say, no, they don't require no kids putting those shoes in the pool. At Franklin Greens, I got their policy here, written policy, where there's nothing on there where they have these kids putting things in the shoes. Okay, I'm prepared in a minute. So I'm hoping that that particular problem can be solved while I work on the other problems. But Councilman Kimberly, there's another thing I'd like to talk to you about. I agree with the kids today. You know, you ever heard the play Platinos and Collard Greens? Mm-hmm. Well, that's the problem I have now in the Parkside area. Mr. And that's where the Hispanics
Mr. Tibbs.
and blacks will come together. Okay. And I would like to see you about a problem that they want to solve, and I need your help, and then we can solve that problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
You got my number.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else who would like to speak? Anything, Mr. Pappas?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Pappas, representing Remy Onisheil, the President of the Board of Trustees of the Hamilton Street Business District Corporation. I live in Branchburg, have an office at 587 Hamilton Street. We're here really, Mr. Latanzio spoke, Mr. Markowitz spoke about a request that was made in a letter to the Mayor and Council dated January the 17th. As was said by Mr. Markowitz, this was prompted from a meeting that was held with Chief Roberts and Deputy Chief Grammer. Councilman Vasanella was present, Councilman Wright was present over the phone, when we spoke of the concern about at least the perception of a public safety issue in the Hamilton Street area. As I think has been said, it may not be as much of a reality as a perception, but for many people, perception is reality. We believe that the recommendation that Chief Roberts made to reinstitute the community policing program, which had been in place for a number of years, was, to almost quote him verbatim, the most appropriate path to follow. We believe, after talking with many of you, talking with certainly many other property owners and merchants in the Hamilton Street area and residents, that if this frankly is not implemented, it will be a major impediment to progress. We believe that the request, as I understand it, as Chief Roberts has outlined it, amounts to approximately 3 new police personnel. My assumption is, and figures that I've been given, would be between $150,000 and $200,000, which I believe is probably less than 0.5% of the entire municipal budget. The business district has a approximately $75,000 or $80,000 budget. There is no way that the commercial property owners that pay the SID tax can support that kind of a service, which would benefit the entire area, not just the Hamilton Street corridor, not just the business district, the entire area. And as was said, this is a proposal to reinstitute something that had been in existence that the chief, in his own words, said was very effective. So we request your support, we request your action. I understand that the budget is to be introduced tonight, and we request your consideration tonight prior to the introduction of the budget that this, this program be funded. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who has not spoken wish to speak?
Seeing no one coming forward, Mayor, motion to close the public portion.
Second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Public discussion portion of this meeting is closed. Thank you very much for all of your input. There was a reference to the budget that's going to be coming up in a little bit. Now we go to item number 9 on the agenda, standing committee reports, of which we have 5: administration, financial oversight, public safety, land use, open space, parks and recreation, and public works. So first, administration. Someone from administration want to give a report?
Mr. Mayor,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think we've had a meeting since the previous council meeting, at which time I gave a report, so there's nothing new to report.
Okay, thank you. So next we have financial oversight.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Kramer.
the financial oversight report has basically been given with the budget hearings, so there's nothing else to report.
Okay, thank you. And public safety? Anyone?
There hasn't,
Vasanella?
there hasn't been a meeting, although some of the initiatives that were discussed the last meeting are moving ahead. We'll have more details after the next council meeting, after the next public safety meeting.
Okay, thank you. And land use, open space, parks and recreation?
Nothing to report, Mr.
Councilman
Mayor.
Wright? Thank you. And public works? Councilman Chase?
Public Works hasn't met since the last council meeting.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Appreciate it. We now come to item number 10 on the agenda, council comments. I guess we'll start here. Councilman Rajiv Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Couple of things. To the Hamilton Street, the community policing is something that we would all love to have. However, we have budget constraints and we have to figure out a way to fund it better. And as I said in a meeting with you, that we need a vision. And this goes back to when I first came here in the mid-'70s to Johnson & Johnson, and they revitalized the entire New Brunswick area. It was just similar to what is going on at in Hamilton Street. And we have some key resources that we can reach out for, which is Johnson & Johnson, and you have the healthcare community of Robert Wood Johnson, as well as St. Peter's, and you have Rutgers University. All of them are looking for additional space in the area. So if we had a redevelopment corporation set up similar to the New Brunswick Redevelopment Corporation and invited these people to be on that board, and we rezoned it and the town council worked with you with the private public partnership, we could actually have a corridor starting with our border. And there's such a dire need for Rutgers housing for students. And I would even suggest that we rezone it for mixed use, where you have housing, you have commercial, and talk to Rutgers about getting buses and easy transportation for the students. And as a result, there's a lot of opportunity there for us to redevelop the whole thing. Now, once you bring the people there, you will see that the demand is there, the merchants will be happy, and we won't have to keep going back and repeating the same, the process, which isn't producing the results. So this is not just one of those areas. There are other areas in town that we could be capitalizing on, and that's Marconi for one. He lived here. His house was here. One of his houses of his staff is still here. And we could build a Marconi's Landing and have a vision of redeveloping the canal and the riverfront, similar to what they have done in Washington and in Philadelphia. So those are the kinds of things that we should have a vision, and all of us work together as a private-public partnership to do that. So then most of these problems go away once the cash flow comes in. But we've got to start somewhere, and I leave myself open. I'd be glad to help, and in whatever way I can. So that's just my comments. As far as the pool is concerned, I am a proponent of keeping the kids busy, tired, in the sun, so that they are too tired to do anything, with enough melatonin in them to fall asleep and not be out at midnight killing each other, which is a short-term memory of this council, but it happened some years ago, and we have prevented that, and I hope and pray it never gets repeated, and I hate to go to funerals. So with that, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Carl Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. One, I love you too. Number one, I just wanted to inform everyone that the 4th of July program is moving forward. Our chairman, William Grippo, is doing an outstanding job. So as we move along, I look forward to the 4th of July, and I think and I hope all the residents look forward to it also. And this year we might have some kids' rides if the money comes in, because as you know, the council, the Franklin Township, doesn't fund the program anymore. So hopefully we'll have enough money in the bank to have some kid projects there. Councilman Prasad brought it up, and I guess I'll add some finishing touches to it. The pool situation. That's been a hotly contested situation for a while. one of the things that I would bring up is I'm on the Recreation Advisory Committee. And again, we're the committee that oversees the public lands that we use for recreation. And Neiman Williams Pool is just such. Now, there's glass in the bottom of the pool. And I would say, if there's glass on the bottom of the pool and you don't have shoes on, there's a cut foot somewhere. Who's going to pay for it? Now,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but some people might say, if there's glass in the bottom of the pool, why don't you clean it up? I think you need to explain how it gets.
oh yeah, I'm about to come to that.
Sorry.
We vacuumed the pool. We actually vacuumed the pool before we allowed the kids in the pool. Now, if we vacuum the pool and there's a piece of glass in there that we overlook, and you cut your foot on that piece of glass that we overlooked, who gets the bill for that? Number two, and I'm sorry, I mean, I'm a stickler for rules, and we're going to abide by these rules unless somebody tells me other. Running on a concrete deck, that just ain't going to fly. Because if you're maneuvering in that area and there's a tow or something goes wrong, who's going to pay for it? Again, rules are rules, and while we may look at other pools, other situations, this is our baby. This is our pool. And unless somebody comes up with something different, unless somebody comes up with some rules, not going to happen. And I don't want to say not going to happen, but it's just, I don't think it's going to move. Second, the Sisters Network of Central New Jersey is having, as I said before, the Health Summit and Buffet Breakfast Saturday, April the 13th from 8 a.m. to 12 noon at the Hyatt Regency, Albany Street, Brunswick, New Jersey. The doors will open at 7:30 a.m. Ticket prices are adults $45, senior $40, and children $30. And they're right here in town at 1201 Hamilton Street. And it's for a worthy cause. They're a breast cancer awareness group. They promote that. Monography, with mammograms, everything that you would want or need to stop that dreaded disease called breast cancer. So, if we can make that there, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Phil Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll jump right to it. Hamilton Street, I'm the, well, at least I believe myself to be the numbers guy. So when people request this, I go to numbers. First of all, I respect your request. I understand what you're trying to do there, and I understand why it's important that people feel comfortable there. I've talked to the Chief of Police about this, and it's not just hiring one police officer for there. First of all, we don't get to tell the Chief of Police what to do. We can tell him what his budget will be. We can tell him how many police officers he will have. We can approve positions, ranks, and things like that. But we do not tell him how to patrol, where to patrol. And what he has said to us is that if he gets more police, he would not, in good conscience, put them all on Hamilton Street. They would be spread out through the town. So for Hamilton Street to realize this, there would need to be an additional 4 police officers. Starting salary is $130,000, so there's $120,000. They get benefits. There's another $80,000. But in 4 or 5 years, I forget the number, that goes up to $250,000 salary and $80,000, and I'm obviously not inflating it. He also doesn't want to hire police and then lay them off the next year, so he needs a commitment for 4 or 5 years. So we're talking, basically, we've got to fund over $300,000 a year for 4 or 5 years, and I don't see room in the budget to do that. I would like to do it. I would like to add more police in different areas. I know one ward is asking for a substation. I know that in my ward there's an area that I would love to get more patrols. But there are budget constraints. So I think Mr. Prasad had some excellent ideas. Just throwing it out there, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. We've often talked about cameras, and there's issues with that, who's going to monitor them, et cetera, but maybe a couple of cameras on Hamilton Street might be useful. Again, I don't know the numbers on that, just an idea. On the pool, I believe in not micromanaging. Ms. Osipowicz does an incredible job with rec, and I'm going to take what she and my manager tell me as far as those kinds of things. I'm not going to do all the research to find out what's good or bad, because I'm not there on the scene and I can't hope to. So I will rely on their input with them. To some more pleasant issues, I did go to the high school play, Aida. As predicted, it was wonderful. It always is. $12, well worth your time. Please go see it. And then my last item is Bill Connell. Bill Connell's a guy who most people on council knows. He comes here and speaks every once in a while, speaks at Board of Ed every once in a while. He's on Open Space. And he frequently sends us email. And he asks some really hard questions sometimes. And sometimes they're annoying, but they're annoying because they're really hard questions and they make me think. But he has got a very, very good heart. And what many people don't know is when his child went through middle school, he got to building the sets for the middle school. She's moved on from middle school. He still builds the sets. And he sent me a wonderful email about himself and a place on Hamilton Street. And I'll read the email, or at least part of it. I'm working on the middle school play and have to build tall stairs. This is beyond my skill set, so in a moment of brilliance, I went to Epic Millwork on Hamilton Street, and I'm having them cut the stringers. For people who don't know, stringers are the part of the stairs that go like this, and until you do about 30 of them, they're pretty difficult to do, and they are the strength of the stair, and so you better get them right. It will be better, more professional, and my blood pressure will stay low. This is a mill shop that services all the large contract work, so my little request could be viewed as an irritating favor. Regardless, they were kind and cooperative, and when I explained what I was doing, they did it, and I appreciate this. So I just wanted to kind of thank, of course, Mr. Connell, but also Epic Millwork. And that led me to another event I went to, which was the Little League opening. The mayor was there, Mr. Vasanella was there. And the word that just kept ringing through my head was community. A lot of people there volunteering their time, a lot of parents volunteering their time, got involved as parents, but as their kids moved out, are still involved. And the definition of the word community just kept ringing through my ears. And why did communities ever start? Because people got together and they found they did better when they got together, when they helped each other. And that's what was going on at the Little League, and that was what was happening at Epic Millwork. And, you know, a lot of people, we're involved with a lot of people who volunteer and give their time, and that's what makes community happen. So I wanted to point out this one organization and also point out all those people involved with Little League, the great work they're doing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Ted Chase.
I didn't think I had much to report, but I did participate in cleanup and general work at the Negri Napoti grasslands on Skillman Road, Skillman Lane, last Saturday. That's why I wasn't at the Little League opening. Personally, I was pulling up brambles by the root so that the grasslands remain grasslands, also buckthorn, multiflora, rose, all of the more woody plants that are the first stages of succession. And what's really important about these grasslands is keeping them grasslands so that we have grassland birds and other species there. There was a pair of blue-winged teal on the pond. I just saw a report tonight that someone has heard vesper sparrows there, which are even rarer than the grasshopper sparrows for which the place is known. So Negri Nepoti is alive and well. We have some work to do also at the Griggstown grasslands. And a reminder that on April 20th, there will be the annual stream cleanup sponsored by the Environmental Commission and the Stony Brook Millstone Watershed Association. They're meeting at the parking lot of the former DNR Canal State Park headquarters on Canal Road, just south of Blackwell's Mills Road, beginning at 9 o'clock on the 20th. And then people will fan out from there to pick up along the towpath, along Canal Road itself, around the Blackwell's, the parking lot between the canal and the river. And in general, in that area, there was a little bit done there last year. The video of last year's cleanup, which was mainly at the East Millstone end of that stretch of the canal, with some at Blackwell's Mills, is now up, shown on Channel 29 at 12:15 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so I urge everybody to see that and then come out to this year's cleanup. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman James Vasanella.
Thank you, Mayor. One item I didn't mention on public safety, since we didn't have a meeting, but I was suggesting there were some items in the pipe that we were working on from our last meeting, and one of those is on Emerson Road, where there's a neighborhood park, and a long time, let's just say, parking issue. The Township has got out there and put in kind of a hard gravel parking lot. No frills, but it does the trick. I guess it goes to show that you don't have to necessarily spend millions to improve, but a little investment could go a long way, and I'm thinking it will improve. I'm looking over here because one of the residents live a few doors down, and many others I've discussed these improvements in the past. I hope will be pleased, and perhaps we can try to get in some more spots. I passed by there tonight and realized that there still was double the amount of spaces, but I would like to recognize our Public Works for getting out there and making it a priority in early spring here. So thank you very much. 7 years ago this week, I got a phone call from Ken Daly, our two managers ago, who was here for quite some time. No matter how long you're on council, certain phone calls you just are not prepared for. And that was a phone call before I was awake, and Mr. Daly explained to me how a young man perished in a fire on Whittier Avenue. That gentleman was Kevin Apuzio. So Thursday there's a memorial mass at St. Matthias. If you can attend, and if you can't, keep him in your prayers. He died trying to save the life of an elderly Franklin resident. Moving on to a better, or let's say a happier issue, Little League. I was there as Councilman Kramer and Mayor Levine was also. And it was a special joy for me because my son is playing this year, and my father had coached back a very, very long time ago when I played. And references that Mr. Kramer made were exactly right, that it is community. And you can go there and see names on that wall, I think Latanzio and Lumber and a few others, whether people move away, whether they have kids playing, whether they walked away really angry after a bad call by an ump. There's something about that field that, to me, is almost like the center of harmony and and goodwill and community spirit. They have done so much in 60 years with so little. You can't do that without sincerity and a desire to have generations prosper. The last issue is Hamilton. I respectfully disagree with some of the approaches. The ideas that were mentioned as far as development, excellent. They've been talked about, and actually I think some are in the pipeline and being researched right now. For everything from cameras to bringing in other major investors. You know, there's an expression about putting the cart before the horse. I admire the work done on this year's budget, but to me, when something was taken away because of a financial crisis, which is my understanding why it was, the first thing that I would have looked to reestablish, and or would now at least, as things are starting to get back on their feet financially in this town, is safety. And there should be a standard that is delivered equally throughout the town. And there are a couple other pockets, I think, on 27 that could benefit by that. I think that was mentioned earlier. So I don't think the request would be to have every resource or every dollar invested back into Hamilton, but that is commonly known is where the community policing has been for decades. I think our manager actually rode a bicycle up and down. He did, and it worked. I won't say how many years ago you did it. A lot of years ago. Okay, it worked a lot of years ago. It worked a few years back before we had it disbanded, and it would work again. I can throw figures out. I can throw. People send me newspaper articles about lots of things that happen there. Part of it's perception, part of it's reality. I'm not going to bore you with all the commentary I've received and all the things you could throw out there. I'm not going to put up a PowerPoint presentation. There is a need for it. The first, to me, the last people that should ever be laid off would be safety personnel. And to me, the first people rehired would be safety personnel. And a lot of good work's gone into the budget this year, but I do think that there'd be a way to get it back on track. And especially since we're talking about, it could be a July 1st start, which right off the bat means only half of the appropriation. And although costs do increase, they increase with every staff. So I just don't think it's fair to look at, what it would cost 5 years out. All of our employees and projects you implement, costs go up. So I believe my council colleagues' heart is in the right place. I just think that I wish it was a higher priority. So wherever it goes, but thank you for coming and presenting your concern tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Brian Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I would like to give my thanks to my peers on council, to many of the municipal employees, and to the many residents who have sent me condolences on behalf of the passing of my mother. It truly means a lot to me. She was a very wonderful woman. And all of us, the majority of us, when we lose our mother, it's a very difficult time because they hold a special place in your lives. And unfortunately, in this world today, I believe we don't honor the role a mother plays, nor a father, to be honest. I believe that in today's society, we are caught up more in what we do and who we are relative to that very critical role of being mother and father. I really wasn't planning on speaking, but unfortunately a couple of topics came up that I do have to address. So Mr. Tibbs, on the pool, you talked the last time you were here, and certainly appreciate all your bringing to the attention the issues at the pool and the concerns. I believe in the budget this year we have really met that head on. I believe the budget has been almost tripled in the amount of the money that's going to the pool, so that the children will have 8 weeks of continuous pool, 7 days a week, I believe. So yes, you told us too. Thank you. So I believe that, a lot has been done. But I do want to make sure that, folks, because sometimes people say things and language is very important, is that the recreation, the head of recreation, Alice Sipowicz, is very caring, wonderful woman who cares about the children in the town and in the role. And though there may be differences of opinion about policy she implements or other items, I do know she cares about the children in town because I've been at the financial meetings, the financial oversight meetings where she tries to make a case, or she does make a case, and again, things are limited. So I want to assure the residents of this town that they have very good leadership in that recreation department. So now, kind of moving on to Hamilton Street. A confusing topic because you hear the word, there's a perception about a problem, but yet there's asking for police to be down there. I do know I sit on the public safety and I sit on the financial oversight committee meeting, and I have yet have the chief come in to me into either roles meetings that I attend to give me a proposal on, we have to do this, or I made a commitment to do this relative to community policing. Now, it's possible I missed that meeting, and it's possible I missed that memo, and I didn't catch up with an email, but, I have not been in a meeting where that happened. Bob, could you ask for our next public safety committee meeting if there seems to be concern about public safety, and if the chief does not have enough police to do the job he feels, to bring that to the Public Safety Committee? I have yet to hear that, but maybe I wasn't at that meeting. Because I've been at these meetings, and I don't have the chief telling me that he has major concerns for public safety in this town, or that the number of police that he has allocated to him is not enough to do his job, which is to provide public safety, to protect the residents and the business people in this town. So, again, I could be misunderstanding or not paying attention, but that has not hit my radar. So at the next Public Safety Committee meeting, I'll certainly make sure that topic comes up to make sure that I have not been misunderstanding any of his updates that he has been given at the Public Safety Committee, nor at the Financial Oversight. As far as adding more police officers, he's done that since at least in the last 2 budget cycles, I believe that we've added more. So I know that is starting to go, and certainly, as Councilman Kramer said, sometimes folks have a real, they feel that we have more power or authority than we do. We certainly do not give the chief direction on where he puts his police officers or how he uses them. It really is. I mean, naturally, if we do hear about concerns, we can have that conversation with him. But it is his decision and his authority as police chief to make those day-to-day operations. And thankfully, no one up here on council is making those day-to-day operation decisions. They are being made by the person with the most skill to do the job, and that's our chief. As far as, the budget for Hamilton, I've heard some ideas about how to improve that area. Certainly I know that the budget was about $70,000. It was a big budget, and I believe that Mr. Papps' salary was about 1/3 of that in the last budget cycle. My recollection was, of the 70, his salary was like a 32 number, maybe a little high, maybe a little lower. So, again, we don't dictate, we don't micromanage that board and how you use your salary. You came to us on your budget, we gave you some input, and hopefully, with now a full-time executive director, that you'll be able to come up with some vision on how to move forward in that area, because though potentially more police coverage or more police presence in that area may help alleviate a perception issue. Ultimately, that won't be what drives, that turns around that area if it needs to be turned around. Sometimes we get caught up with that and we believe that just one thing. It's all about having the right set of leadership working and partnering with other areas in the town and other businesses. So certainly, again, I would be more willing, maybe it's possible because I'm not on that committee, that there's been some memos put out on the strategic plan for how to improve that, other than asking for more police coverage in that area. I'd be great if that memo exists. I'd be more than happy to read that. With that, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
It's so hard to be last because people probably just tired of listening, hearing the talking. But I have to add on to that. I know everybody weighs in. I do understand the need for community policing. And back in 1996, when I was mayor, we had community policing. And our manager was riding a bike back then. So I can tell you what year it was. It worked very well. It's something that is needed in that area. I understand that. But I agree with my colleagues as far as the fact that that issue was never brought up in the public safety meeting. It was never brought up in a financial oversight meeting, which is where those kind of conversations are vetted. I know we did receive a letter, and when we had our budget hearing with the chief, he did not ask for any additional police officers. So I think we may have missed our window of opportunity because we're going to introduce the budget tonight, but certainly we can go back and revisit that and take it through the proper channels from the Public Safety Subcommittee. So that's all I have to say about that. Mr. Tibbs, as far as the shoes in the pool, that issue has also been vetted and been reviewed by our GIF, which is our General Insurance Fund, and they have come back and basically said, we don't need shoes in the pool. And so Alice of Sipowicz, I'm sure, will be reaching out to you and confirming that with you, but that issue has been put to bed. So we don't have to keep talking about shoes in the pool anymore. Okay, you're welcome. And then as far as, yes, indeed, yes.
No. What I'm saying is,
Okay, what
shoes
don't we
may
let-
not.
I didn't say anything, I didn't interrupt
Oh, okay,
anybody,
go ahead.
so I shouldn't be interrupted.
Okay, with the council, come back.
Okay. And then I just had one other thing I wanted to say. As far as what happened here tonight, I thought it was very beautiful. The proclamations that we had, the one that Deputy Mayor Sherman gave was really nice about the Days of Remembrance, very touching. Also, the Navraz, which was given by our Councilman Rasad, which is the Parsi New Year. I learned something new today. I didn't know anything about that. And its celebration, its historical significance, I thought that was beautiful. I also liked the presentation on the Festival of Holi and the sweets by Mr. Desai, and, you know, his conversation about the colors and how it promoted good health and imagination. I just thought that was wonderful. And then the commendation that was given by Councilman Bassanella, I thought that was very nice that he actually brought our volunteers up and we could see the faces behind who's doing that work, because I had no idea. I know a lot of those people, but I just didn't know they were doing that. I would just like to acknowledge and thank them for their time and their talent and the contributions that they're giving to our township by editing the tapes and putting all those special programs and boards and commission meetings on FTTV. And I think that's all I wanted to, oh, and then I wanted to also mention that there is a In the Woods play that's going to be held at the Franklin Middle School on April 19th and 20th at 7 p.m. and also on April 21st, which is a Sunday at 3 p.m. And it's $8 for adults and $5 for youth. And some of the youth were here today over at the Senior Community Center doing a presentation, a musical presentation for our seniors, and they are also going to be a part of that play. So if you can come out and support our youth at the middle school on April 19th, 20th, and 21st, by all means do that. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Rosalind Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Councilwoman Francois, you were not quite last.
Oh, I'm never less. That's true. That's true.
I think all the other issues have been covered very well by my peers here on the council, so I won't belabor the issues. I think a lot of very good points were made. So I'm going to talk about the issue again of community, and one of my favorite topics, which is the Franklin Township Cultural Arts Council. So we talked a little bit about the 4th of July. We are in charge of the entertainment for the 4th of July, and just to give you a little hint of what we're doing, not a hint, I mean, I'll spill the beans, I just don't remember all the names. We will have a salsa band at the 4th of July event. I want people up and dancing and just moving with that beat on the 4th of July. We also will have Reunited, and I don't remember that band name, I apologize. We'll have Reunited, which is a group that played last year, did a wonderful job, more mellow kind of music, but very well received. And then we'll also ask the villagers to participate, as they have done for every 4th of July event, and we want to showcase their programs. This Sunday, the 14th of April, at the First Baptist Church, we're going to have an event again for our main theme of the year, which is the Emancipation Proclamation. It will be a first-class event. There will be a Frederick Douglass reenactor. There'll be gospel singing. There'll be some dancing and readings. The event is totally free, so please come. It's at 4 o'clock. It's a family-friendly event, so bring your children along with you. Another event, we had our first jazz and blues open mic jam on Sunday. Was well attended. It is scheduled to be held every first and third Sunday of the month. It is at the Van Wickle House on Easton Avenue. Starts at 2 o'clock. So come, bring whatever instrument you play. They do have a piano there. We had some real lively sessions while I was there watching everybody. There were a number, someone played an accordion. We have several guitar players and some people with great voices. So it was just a lovely, lovely afternoon. Come out the first and third Sunday of each month. For as long as we can keep bringing people in, we'll keep going with this. So that's one of our events. And just the last thing, Councilman Kramer mentioned, Aida, just to make sure you realize there have been 2 performances already, last Friday and Saturday, and the last 2 performances are this Friday and Saturday, so please try to get there and not miss the amazing talent that we have in this township. And that's my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And now for my report, from what we've seen and spoke, we're concerned obviously about public safety in a lot of ways. One is recreation and expanding that to help youth and good influences, and the other is discussed about the police here. So not weighing in on those right now, but except that I'm for extra public safety, I'm for programs for the kids, but the specifics, we'll see how that shakes out. On a few notes from myself, I've mentioned before, working with an organization across the state, Building One New Jersey, which is part of Building One America, to try and make the state more together in how we approach things, and especially places like the suburbs, older suburbs such as we are, to make sure the state and national government knows where we're coming from and what our needs are also. Going to another meeting, it's open to the public on the 19th in Woodbridge. Be glad to share that with anyone. And also, invitation for information. Next week is the first meeting this year of the State Red Tape Review Commission, chaired by our Lieutenant Governor. It's a bipartisan commission with members of the legislature and myself as a mayor. And we're going to be a little farther south down the state And usually we go in themes, and this topic is going to, that we'll accept, hear anything, it's going to be on Superstorm Sandy. So if there's issues about things that are happening, everything from FEMA to collections to how the state's progressing or getting in the way of progressing, that's what we're going to be glad to hear. So anything in that way, please let me know. I'd be glad to bring that with me. And that concludes my report, and I'll go to Councilman Carl Wright, who asked for some time here.
The duck shoes that we want the kids to wear. We have a fence around Neiman Williams Pool, but people throw bottles over that fence. Now, we vacuum that pool, we sure enough do, but if you miss that glass, who's going to pay for it? Now, I understand insurance regulations may say, go right ahead. But if there's glass in the pool and you miss that glass, we have an issue. That's why we required the duck shoes in the first place. Not because it was insurance or whatever. It was because of the glass. And that's one thing we looked at. Now, Ms. Osipowicz has done a great job for the last couple of years running this pool. So I think, as everyone here would say, you have to lend a little hand here and say, hey, I think we know what we're doing on that pool. And I live 5 blocks away, so just so we understand, I'm 5 blocks away. My kids were in that pool. There's got to be something there for us to say, you know, I think you need to wear something, because if you cut your foot or do anything like that, again, who's going to be responsible for that? Is our insurance company going to pick that tab up? Now, they might say, go right ahead, you know, like I said, be barefoot, but there you have it.
So what's the question?
Okay, thank you.
Can we hear from our manager?
Okay, Mr. Vornlocker?
I'd just like, to try to put this to bed once and for all. The discussion about the rules of the pool have been debated at least at several council meetings, I'm sure at Rec Council, and a number of other places, both in a formal and informal setting. The township is a member of the Central Jersey Joint Insurance Fund. The Central Jersey Joint Insurance Fund, employs a risk management firm to advise each of the municipalities as to how, and in this particular case, after an inspection of the pool, how to minimize our risk. And I am going to continue to go to that risk management company to determine what rules should be established for this pool. In the past, the rules were done based on staff positions as far as the pool was concerned, and it's reached this point where there's constant debate about it. That's our risk manager, and my position is that that's who should tell us what the rules need to be for this pool. When that's done, I'll report back to council, and they will say A, B, C, D, and E are the rules, and that will be the rules of the pool. If there's shoes included, and there's some reason for them to wear shoes, then shoes will be included. If there's no shoes to be included, then they won't be included. All of the information has been supplied to the JIF as it relates to this particular pool. They came out and inspected the pool itself and made recommendations as far as safety and security are concerned, and we're going to go with what their recommendations are.
Which was?
And, well, their recommendations at this point are incomplete, and they are providing us, but their initial response included nothing about shoes. So I've asked them to specifically look at this pool and give us a list as it relates to this pool. There was no mention of shoes in their initial response back to us.
Okay, thank you. So we'll hear what, that'll come back to us. Okay, so we're now at number 11 on the agenda, council discussion items. And we have one. It said a special meeting date for ABC disciplinary hearing. ABC is the Alcoholic Beverage Commission. There's a hearing for a specific establishment that has a liquor license in town. I'm going to ask our attorney, Mr. Raynone, to brief us and tell us what our procedure is, please.
Well, without going too much into the details, which have been laid out for you in a memorandum from my office, as well as a memorandum from the police department and the draft of the notice, we're probably going to need about 2 hours for a hearing. I'm sure that any members of council have gone through this process before, understand that it's not unusual for these things to be canceled, a request for more time, maybe an attempt to try to work it out. So my suggestion is that we pick a couple of dates, that we set an initial hearing date and have kind of a backup date. I think the first issue is council has to decide whether or not they want to try to do it on a council night, which I don't think is a bad idea. Though, council meetings have been running a little bit long lately, maybe if we replace the hearing with the first 14 items on the agenda, we could get it done. Just a suggestion as an interested observer. and start an hour early, and maybe we'll be done before midnight. But my suggestion is probably that we pick an off night. Maybe a date in May and a date in June, and then we'll try to schedule the first date and go from there.
And Mr. Reno, if you can, just for an analogy for some of us, is it such as the prosecutor will act as a prosecutor and we are the judge or jury? What would you?
Correct.
What's the
You sit as the local ABC board. I sit as counsel to the ABC board. The prosecutor and the police department will present their case. The applicant will have an opportunity to cross-examine witnesses, and then they will present whatever testimony they want to present. You will then have the opportunity to review the evidence in closed session and deliberate, and then you render a decision by issuing a formal resolution.
Okay. And possible resolutions might be do nothing, revoke the license, something in between?
Correct. You can find them guilty or not guilty. And once you've done that, you decide whether or not there's a penalty of you're only, for a long time, councils used to fine, but the ABC board has basically told councils that their only authority is to either suspend or revoke. So you can suspend, decide how many days you want to do that. You'll have the benefit when the time comes of what is the ABC board has a kind of a schedule of offenses. You'll also have the benefit of knowing what the license history is, and all of that will be presented to you, and then you'll make a decision from there.
Okay, thank you. So from the councilors, first on a regular meeting, separate, and when that may be. Okay,
Just
Regan?
a question, actually, on the process. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when, from the time of the hearing, the night, whatever that is, how soon do we have to render a decision?
There's no time limit in the law. I would say that you want to try to do it. If you did it at a special meeting, my suggestion is that you try to deliberate that night, give me some direction as to how you'd like a resolution to look, and then at whatever your next council meeting is to render the decision. So I wouldn't let it go more than a couple of weeks. It could go more than a couple of weeks, but I don't know if you want to do that. The other thing that generally happens, and Bob, I'm going to draw a little bit on your knowledge here. We do license renewals in the middle of the summer, right?
We actually are in the middle of the summer is when the renewal is done at the council meeting. Right. The investigations by the police department for the renewals begins really right about now. The list has been supplied.
But and I only ask that question is because you probably want to make this decision before you get to the point where you're considering the renewal of this license, because it may impact on conditions you want to put in a renewal. It may have no impact at all if you find them not guilty. It may impact if you found for some reason that you would revoke the license, or so. My guess is we want to try to get it done before, so that's June 30th. So that, let's, kind of frame the outside limits of it.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Two quick questions. If it were tagged on to a council meeting, is is it an open meeting? People can come in to
Yes.
the audience and watch it? And is it videotaped?
Yes, it's a public meeting of the council. You're just sitting as the ABC board, so it would be taped like any other meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Kramer.
Given the history of this council, if it would take 2 hours in general, I should plan for 4 hours.
I actually thought it would take 45 minutes, and I said 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
Especially
No,
if we're go-
seriously, I thought 2 hours was reasonable.
But especially if we're going to deliberate that night, I think we need to do this as a separate meeting.
Or we
Probably.
cut out some of
Looks
the
like
other
most
things.
people are in agreement.
I have a question for our
Yes,
council.
Councilman Wright? Yes.
I've been to that establishment, so I back off on this one?
No, the fact that you've gone there before, unless you tell me you have some interest in the license, no. Or that you were there the night of the incident, then there's no reason.
Okay.
Nice try, though.
Okay. So for potential nights, yes, April does have a fifth Tuesday and a fifth Monday. Sometimes they're clearer than people have standing meetings.
Right.
And then in May, our meetings are on 14th and 28th. So you suggest we come up with maybe 2, Mr. Raynone?
I think that's a good idea, probably maybe one in May and one in June.
April 30th, the fifth Tuesday would be good for me.
Okay, yeah, and generally fifth days, weeks tend to be good. Okay. Well, potentially say the 30th?
April 30th, that's one date.
Okay, and then another one in May?
In May.
Take it.
How about the 21st of
Which
May?
is the third Tuesday.
Well, I'm on vacation, but that's okay.
Well, we got time
Well,
to work around that.
the first-
On the whole week, or?
From the 17th to the 25th.
So the first Tuesday in May how is that on people's calendars?
Okay.
No, can't do the first Tuesday.
Oh,
We have a
okay.
community planning forum.
Oh, okay.
Do you have a burning desire to be at a hearing?
Me
Deputy Mayor?
personally? Well, if you can make it convenient where I can be there, fine,
Okay.
and if not, that's all right.
What about the 29th of May? That's a Wednesday.
That's Memorial Day week, but a Wednesday, that's the day after our council meeting.
Right, or the day
That was-
before, the 27th, that Monday.
Yeah, that's Memorial.
Oh, that is Memorial Day? Ooh, oh.
I'm good on the 29th.
29th? Yeah.
29th is a Wednesday.
Is that, okay, that's pre-June, Mr. Raynone, if that works?
Correct, and the only thing that
Fifth
I'm
Wednesday.
checking to see, and we can get back to council, is that I do have, and I know Bob did too, an email to make sure the police officers are all there. But, we can, you at least give us a couple of dates we can start to work with. So the 21st of April and the
No, I'm sorry,
30th.
Tuesday, the 30th?
30th and
of April,
29th.
And May 29th, Wednesday. Okay, good, those are potential dates. Okay, anything else, Mr. Raynone, on that?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we have item number 20 on the agenda, 12 on the agenda, approval of the minutes. We do not have any for this week. So we come to item number 13, approval of the warrants. The warrants are the bills that we pay. Warrants in the amount of $3,424,448.54 on April 9th, 2013, are presented to the Township Council for payment. Is motion to pay the warrants as read?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on payment of the warrants.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Okay, next we have our ordinance hearing. Usually ordinances go into law after 2 votes. The first one, the ordinance has we have a vote on it, and usually after the next meeting or 2, there's a second vote. At that second vote, there's a public hearing, so we hear anything the public has to say. And it's passed the second time, then it goes into law. We have only one of those with the second reading this evening. So in a moment, I'm going to ask if anyone wants to speak on it, and it's, if you want to, it'll just pertain to this particular ordinance. So this is 14A on the agenda. It's ordinance number 4007-13, an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly, Chapter 384, Water, Article 4, Water Rates and Meter Charges, and Article 5, Other Charges and Fees. This basically increases our water rates so that it keeps up with the costs of our operations. I think this is the second increase we've had in about 10 years. The Township Attorney has approved the affidavit of publication, and a public hearing is in order. Is there a motion to open the meeting for a public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Meeting is open for a public hearing on this particular ordinance. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand.
Mr. Mayor, seeing no one coming forward, I move that we close the public session.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Public hearing is closed for this ordinance. Thank you. Is there a motion for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with law?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on item 14A, ordinance 4015-13, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we have ordinances on first reading. We have 3 of those tonight, and I'll give you the dates when the hearings will come up for those. After that, it's technically a resolution and introduction of municipal budget, and I'll give the date when the final vote on that budget will be. So now we come to item number 15A on the agenda, ordinance 4016-13, an ordinance to amend the municipal code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, by amending Chapter 330, entitled Stormwater Management, to further incorporate stormwater management and stormwater best management practices for minor developments. So this is some stormwater changes. It's based on state regulations for what is termed minor developments. That's basically 2,500 square feet to an acre. And it's other provisions in there also. That's the basic gist of it. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2013, at 7:00 p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on item 15A, ordinance 4016-13, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Okay, motion is carried. We now have item 15B on the agenda, ordinance 4017-13. An ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 40A 4-45.14 for calendar year 2013. This is basically a standard resolution, a standard ordinance we do. We are not expected to exceed our cap. The proposed budget, which we'll be voting on shortly, has an increase of approximately 1.86% in total appropriations. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2013, at 7:00 p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 15B, ordinance 4017-13, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Next is the third and final of our ordinance introductions. So like I said, in a moment, we'll go to our municipal budget resolution introduction. This item 15C on the agenda, ordinance number 4018-13, an ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 230, Massage, Bodywork, and Somatic Therapy, Section 230-6, Permit Application Requirements. Basically, anyone in the massage business is required to have a license by the State of New Jersey, and that kind of brings us in compliance with that law by eliminating any local requirements and going with the state licensing to do that. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2013 at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 15C, ordinance 4018-13, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. That's the ordinance introductions. So now we have our budget introduction. This is item 16-1 on the agenda, Resolution 13-175, introduction of calendar year 2013 municipal budget, and to set the public hearing date. We have had several meetings over many days, public hearings open to the public that were televised also, speaking to department heads regarding our budget. This is the introduction, and if it passes, I believe our hearing should be set for May 14th. Would that be correct? Yes.
28th.
Okay. May 14th, which is 1 month. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So this is, again, Resolution 13-175, introduction of calendar year 2013 municipal budget, and to set the public hearing date. This is presented to the Township Council for adoption. Is there a motion for this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Thank you. As you mentioned, there has been a very robust process in vetting this budget. We have had the Financial Oversight Committee did a very strenuous review, as well as the council members here. With all of that, and knowing how hard it has been to even find opportunities in the budget, Councilman Chase and I paid a visit to our township manager in the hopes of perhaps seeing if there were some opportunities for additional savings to reduce the increase that will be asked for as a result of this budget. And I have to say, we were both totally pleased and delighted that our township manager was able to come up with some opportunities that will reduce the increase on the proposed tax increase for the township. Appears to be, I'll let him give you the numbers, but at least 0.25% less than what we had originally anticipated. So if you would share with us the opportunities, I would appreciate it.
Thank you,
Okay,
Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Hornlocker?
As the Deputy Mayor said, both she and Councilman Chase came to see me yesterday in hopes that I could go through the budget one more time and perhaps find some way of finding some either additional revenue or some, cutting of some appropriation. And to be perfectly honest with you, my immediate response was that this budget has been gone through countless times at this point by myself, by the CFO, by our financial consultant, by financial oversight,
by the council themselves. That there was nothing that was immediately coming to mind that I could see that was in any way excess in this budget. Sometimes odd things happen. And over the course of the last probably 36 hours or so, two things happened. One, I was given confirmation that we have received through wire transfer about $33,000 and change into our account from FEMA that is part of our Sandy relief from the federal government. It's an advanced payment of $33,790.80 based on a percentage of what our submission is thus far to FEMA. That revenue, for lack of a better term right now, was not included in the budget because it would have been unanticipated revenue up until it became anticipated because it was received and confirmed yesterday. And at about 20 after 4 this afternoon, I had a phone conversation with our representative from BGIA, who I'm sure you're all aware is the firm that brokers our insurance. Our short-term disability insurance plan expires on June 30th. I had spoken to them about the need to go out on the market for our disability insurance, and what I was able to confirm this afternoon at, like I said, about 4:30 was that I will be able to reduce the disability line in the budget by $34,000. So the total is about $67,790.80, both taking into account additional revenue from FEMA and decreased costs for our disability. So while I don't really take very much credit for this at all because it kind of fell in my lap, and I will be the first to admit that, I don't know that I would have looked at it this way had you two not come to my office, so you did, and now I can report back to the council that that is the case here. What council chooses to do with that as far as the budget is concerned, it certainly can be used in any portion to reduce the percentage of increase. It can be used to reduce the amount of fund balance we utilize to balance this budget or some combination thereof. So that is what I have to add.
Well, we certainly appreciate your listening to us and making us aware of these opportunities. It was just, what shall I say, the fates brought us the moment of opportunity together. So, but thank you for your assistance. And as far as how to apply it, how do we move on that? Is that a vote or?
That's,
What was the total?
that just becomes part of the budget, actually,
What was the total?
well, any of those.
The total is $67,790.
So,
So we,
Mr. Hodulek, does that just become part of our budget then, or
Into the mic.
Corona?
Well, procedurally, the budget is comes to you from the manager.
That's
So-
right. So my answer to that is that at the last council meeting, we had a rather lengthy discussion about the percentage of increase that we would apply to this year's budget, and the decision that was made by this council at that time was 5%. I believe that you'll see that the document that was handed out to you tonight reflects a 5% increase in the budget that is being introduced tonight. This is now obviously the opportunity to amend that introduction if that's where the direction of this evening's discussions will go. What I'm saying is that this budget was prepared before yesterday and today, so therefore these last-minute changes would be done as an amendment to the budget.
No, once again, we haven't introduced anything
No,
yet.
I'm using.
So
you know what, that's
let's use revision.
right,
So-
revision. That's a
So
better word.
if the consensus is that council wants to just take that in as an item of anticipated revenue, you would change that line item change the bottom, we'll mark up these documents here tonight, and you'll introduce it that way so that you won't have to go through the budget process.
Yes, that, and that.
By the
Just based on my knowledge of this transpiring this afternoon, I had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Hodgelick, and that's why there is not the large budget document in front of you that you might ordinarily see at a budget introduction, because there was the potential for this revision, and that is the correct term, the revision of the budget prior to introduction. So there we have some decisions to make as to how we apply this revenue and how we address the cut in appropriations as it reflects in the increase and in the use of fund balance.
I'd like to, Mr. Mayor.
Can I just touch on one more procedural part of this? Council could also decide to just introduce it the way it is and take up the issue of whether or not that amendment is done at some other time. And if council did nothing and left this the way it was and did not put that item in, it would just lapse and it would go to surplus.
I'd like to propose
Mayor Sherman,
that we add it as revenue and use that to reduce the increase by the appropriate percentage.
Seconded.
Okay, Councilman Chase.
I would think that technically what we're doing is adding the money from FEMA as the anticipated revenues and subtracting the decrease in short-term disability insurance from, I think that would be appropriations excluded from caps. I mean, the bottom line is the same. I'm just saying, I think, and Mr. Hodjulik is nodding, that technically that is how we would change the numbers.
And that's exactly what it is. And it would have been unanticipated revenue had it come in 2 months from now after we've been through this budget process. It just happened to come in and was confirmed yesterday. And so we have that as anticipated revenue, and as the councilman said, the appropriations are the appropriations. Insurance is outside the cap, but this is certainly just an appropriation like any other.
So I would agree with Councilman Chase.
Councilwoman Francois. Okay, Councilman Vasanella.
You done, Councilwoman?
No, I just said I agree with Councilman Chase.
So the total amount, right now, the motion is to have it basically reduce the tax levy. Is that correct?
Correct. The adjustments that would be made would adjust the percentage of increase, yes.
Okay. So
Just the amount.
Well, it'll adjust both, the percentage and therefore the amount, correct.
But both, all right.
So Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to slightly adjust the motion that's been put on the table. And I just want to preference it by saying it was a healthy exchange tonight between the Hamilton, the people advocating for community policing and people on council. I think maybe what the issue is that there's still a lot of confusion as to the actual cost and comments that were made and the committees that went through or didn't go through. So I'd hate to see that just, let's say kicked all the way to next year. Whether we do it or not, I'm going to ask, and I'm going to get to the motion in a minute, but this is very important. I'm going to ask if our executive director, obviously the majority of the board would have to direct him to find a way to arrange a meeting with council and other appropriate people, whatever ways to make it legal within quorum, et cetera, and have a more open, casual discussion, because I think the heart of my colleagues is in the right place. I think there is just some confusion as to, there's a DARE program, there's a crime suppression program. Nobody's telling the chief what to do. You either appropriate money for the programs or you don't. And I can understand council doesn't want to appropriate it unless they understand the need. I totally respect that. So between now and the next budget, I'm going to, a month from now, I'm going to ask that happens. And whether it gets introduced, gets put in this year, next year, whenever, so be it. But at least the clarity will be there so everybody will understand and be working towards the same goal with the same facts. That being said, there's something that most SIDs and BIDs have, and that is some involvement and contribution from the town. And usually it can be upwards of most of their budget even, or half it or whatever. In their budget for several years has been something called added patrols. And those added patrols, I believe, have worked wonderfully. I believe the police are in support of it, the residents are supportive, and the board is in support of it, and the council has supported it through their passing of their budget. So I'm going to ask if my colleagues would consider, at this point, whatever happens in a month from now, or down the road with the community policing issue, that my council colleagues consider taking half of that $67,000 amount and do what most municipalities with SIDs and BIDs do, and contribute half of it to the Hamilton board so that they can use it in ways they've been using it with extra police patrols, working closely with, I believe it's Lieutenant Rizzo, and it seems to have worked wonderfully just seems to have worked wonderfully over the years. So I'm going to ask council to consider that minor adjustment to the amendment.
Okay, so if I can encapsulate.
Will not necessarily do.
To encapsulate, Mayor, it would be to, while whatever happens with community policing that works out over time, for the council to contribute half of that amount so that they could have a more assertive extra patrol program. I mean, it's just, there's no technical name to it.
Okay, so
and that would help them a long way. And then they would have to come and obviously justify their budget in the summer when they come to ask for their new budget. But at least that gives them a little bit of a kick of some cash that they can put to use for what I think we all believe, safety.
Okay, so is it basically a motion to, of this 67,000, take half of it for the SID with the direction, hopefully they'll put it towards public safety, and use the other half to reduce
What Deputy Mayor, the Deputy Mayor had recommended, which I support.
Can we hear from her?
Yeah,
please.
can I,
Mr.
I've got to ask some questions, and some of these are going to be for Bob, and some are going to be for Andy. I know you said that it's very common for towns to appropriate money and give them to SIDs. I've never seen it happen. So when you say that, I've been involved in a number of pretty long-standing SIDs, and I've never seen a town appropriate money and give it to the SID. Typically, what happens is this: SIDs raise, there's a SID tax. There are changes from year to year as to what the SID tax is used to pay for. I've been in towns where some years the SID tax is used to pay for instance, an extra garbage collection. Some years they can't afford to do that, some years the town picks it up. So there's a give and take with regards to how services are provided. So that's the first issue. The second issue is this issue of giving money to the SID that SID will then use to pay for extra patrols. That's a manager question. Are they paying off-duty police officers for patrol?
Correct. That
Okay.
in the past, the SID has hired off-duty police officers like any other vendor to provide security along Hamilton Street.
Right. So
Every year.
there's a problem. There's a couple of problems there. One is, once again, and Andy's going to have to tell us whether or not we can appropriate money and give it to the SID. I believe that we cannot. I believe it's inappropriate for us to do that. They're a semi-private kind of entity. They're funded only by the SID funds, and we can't give them money. That's the first thing. The second thing is I would really have a concern with, right now we have off-duty police officers paid for the SID. I like that kind of separation between us and the off-duty police officers. The moment we send money to the SID to give to our police officers, I personally believe that we end up, they're not off-duty police officers anymore. They're now on-duty police officers at overtime rates. Because we've now funded them, because if we can do it, then Bob and I need to talk privately. Well, I mean, where the PBA can't hear us.
As I'm sitting.
But I'm pretty sure that we can. So the first thing is, once again, I don't think that you can appropriate money in the municipal, I just don't think it's appropriate to appropriate money in the municipal budget and put it in the SID budget. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that I would have concern for that specific item to use it for funding of police officers, because I think it then becomes effectively us funding police officers, and that's effectively just overtime. Andy, am I right? I've never seen a SID where a town appropriated money in. Yeah.
Just
Okay.
be clear, because I want to
Beth
make
Miller.
sure anything we do is legal. My research, I don't know if the executive director, which is quite familiar, that towns do make contributions to their SID program, to their bid program. I could be completely wrong, but I have read SIDs, some of them, matter of fact, a report 2 years ago that came from this council, that they make financial contributions. They may not be able to tell them exactly what to do with it. I'm assuming that they would look in the area of public safety, since that seems to be their priority. I don't know if you'd entertain, if our executive director even knows anything about it.
Well, I have a little bit of experience representing municipalities. I know Andy has a lot. I think you're mixing things up. There's lots of times, and that's what I said, where there are services that are kind of fungible that, you know, municipalities participate with SIDS in things. What they don't do is appropriate money to them for their use. And the key part of this is what makes it problematic is when you say, well, we can't tell them what to do with it. That's the problem. We can't contribute money to people and not tell them what to do with it. So what happens is, as I said, you know, I've seen SIDS do all host of things, and from year to year, who pays for, closing off the streets? One year it's the SID, one year it's the municipality. Those things are fungible, but what doesn't happen is municipalities appropriate money from their budget into a SID budget, and that's where I was being very specific here. So the answer is that if this motion is to appropriate $35,000 to the SID to have them pay for off-duty police officers, I don't think that procedurally or legally or contractually with a PBA contract, we can do any of those things.
Like I said, whatever is the legal way, we don't want to do anything that's not proper. So you can look into it and you can get back to us and maybe let us know.
Well, there's nothing to look into.
Yeah.
He just gave you legal counsel. He gave us legal counsel, so we need to move on.
So
I
and
then
non-issue.
ask that my motion that it be considered revenue and used to reduce the tax increase.
Okay, so I think what we've been told is the good concept, we legally can't do that at this point. Is there anything else you want to?
Now, I would have researched it prior, but it just came to mind when, as the evening proceeded.
Sure,
So
that's fine.
That's fine, Mayor.
Could be
Mr. Mayor,
doing different things.
It's a good
Council-
Can I just
suggestion.
add
Good
Prasad?
suggestion, but we can't do it.
one comment?
Yes, sir.
And that is that I'm a believer in technology, and if you look at the subway bombings in London, they had them caught within a week, the whole thing. And so I'm a firm believer that cameras are an effective deterrent, and we need to consider investing in them. And that's the chief's call, but I've talked to him many times about it. And as a result, I would suggest that, to appease the need in Hamilton Street, we may want to consider getting a grant for some cameras, et cetera.
Can we make the
But not-
appropriation for that?
No.
Luke?
No.
Can we make the appropriation to the chief to use however way he...
Point of order.
No.
Okay, is there?
Yes.
Is there
No,
other
I'm
discuss-
just saying get some grants or something, but not this.
There's a motion on the floor.
Right.
That has to do with the budget.
Is there other? Yeah.
These other issues can be discussed at a very good point and
Right.
very well taken, but that's not the issue that's on the floor. I'd like
Okay.
to move my motion.
Okay. The motion is to use this money to reduce the levy. I guess that's basically it. Is there any other discussion on that issue, Councilman Kramer?
It was seconded too, I believe.
I seconded it.
Okay.
McCarthy?
Oh, no, that's right, yes, Mr. Prasad.
Could you restate the
Yes.
motion?
So I,
I'm sorry.
Okay.
you
mo-
can re-
the
no, I'm
motion-
happy to
the-
have the motion restated, but I do have discussion.
Yeah, the motion is to use the items identified by the manager to reduce the levy, and that will be done so that we're clear based upon the discussions. Some of it is anticipated revenue, some of it is reducing appropriations within, and some is reducing appropriations outside of the cap.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Kramer?
So I have some discussion that I want the council to hear relative to the budget so they can process what Ms. Sherman, Deputy Mayor Sherman, has suggested. So I need to refer back to, so if the videographer could please show the projection, video projector. So I'm referring back to my presentation of the last meeting. And in there, we talked about the average, or the assessment of the average home, that it had dropped in 212 to 213, and we also discussed the medium home. In 212, it was 311,000, and now it's 304,000. And then Mr. Hodgelick presented, how much does that affect municipal taxes? And as I was sitting at the BOE meeting where they presented it, it occurred to me, there's two different ways to answer that question. Actually, Mr. Hodgelick and I came up with a third way, but I won't even go there. So one way to come up with it is, and this is what was presented last time, so way of presenting it, A, was if you look in 2012 and 2013, the average home now is 304,000. You could say, well, how is our tax rate increase affected what the average homeowner will pay? You could compare it to a person whose home last time was 304,000. His assessment did not change, so he stays at 304,000, and now he just happens to be at the average price of a home. So if you look at that over in the last column on the right, his municipal tax will go up $63.89. Because the library assessment has gone down, or the library tax rate has gone down from 35 cents a hundred to 33 cents a hundred, you could, and Mr. Vassanella mentioned, well, he isn't sure how valid this is, and that's a good point, but one could take $6.09 off of it. This is how your payment will change, but I think it's a valid point by Mr. Vassanella that maybe we shouldn't take that into account. We shouldn't take credit for it. But anyway, here I will. And then since your assessment didn't change and the tax rate on open space is 5 cents a hundred, your open space rate doesn't change. So your net change in your taxes that comes out of the municipal area of your tax bill would go up $57.81. Another way to look at it, and the way the school board does it, and the way I was thinking of it would be, you own the average home last time, and it got reassessed, and you still own the average home this time. It's just your assessment has gone down. If that's the case, because your assessment has gone down, your municipal tax bill now would be just under $40. Your library tax would decrease by $8.58, and your open space tax would decrease by $3.57. So your net increase from the municipal portion of the budget would be $27.42. So this kind of answers the question before we had that histogram of how many people's got reassessed and came down, how many people didn't, what if your taxes didn't come down, how does that affect you? This kind of answers that question. If you have the average home and your assessment didn't come down, by what we're planning, or what we've planned to do so far prior to Deputy Mayor Sherman's motion, thank you, was it was going to increase $57.81. If you were at 311 last time, you're reassessed down to 304. Your tax will increase by $27.42. Knowing that something was going to happen like this tonight, I had heard rumblings that maybe there was going to be a motion to reduce the increase in levy. I did this analysis. And basically what you said, this is the one I just showed, and now you see up on the top there, I took $100,000 off of the amount that we are taxing, that's going out to the people to be taxed, the amount of money in the levy. And what you'll notice is probably the two numbers to look at are the bottom number of both of these. Before it was 5781, that drops to 5477, and before it was 2742, it drops to 2438. So what you're doing, if you reduce the amount that we're going to increase the levy to everyone by $100,000, you're basically saving these average homeowners, whichever way you look at it, about $3 per household. So I just wanted people to understand that. I also want people to understand the whole concept of the burn rate, which was, what this is every year, if we look at it, depending on how much we raise taxes, this would be raising taxes 5%, 4.5%, 4%. These are millions of dollars that we are taking out of the fund balance, our savings account. How much are we withdrawing from that in order to balance the budget? At the end, we're starting now at somewhere between 2 and 2.5 million, and depending on which way you do this, you could wind up in 2017 at $1.5 million, or at $3.5 million that you are still taking it out. Less people think that we just came in with the 5%, and that's all we were thinking, and we didn't give it any thought. This is what Mr. Hodgelick presented to us initially. And by the way, is it Mr. Hodgelick or is it Mr. How do you pronounce it? Hodgelick, thank you. Okay, so I don't have to learn another name. So, good. So this is what he presented, being a good accountant, of this is how you fix your fund balance leak. It does not look at the pain that this might be to taxpayers, but it looks at what is available to us, and that's a good job. That's what he should be telling us. It is our decision as to what to do with it. And this is a 7.28% tax increase, 6%, 4%, almost 7%, almost 4%, and it basically fixes it by 2017, but you heard about the amount of taxes we were increasing. When we do that, if we will wind up with $15, $16 million as best this model can predict. There are, models can only go so far at the end, and we are basically even. We are fixed. We are there. At 5%, we are still sinking, but we're doing better than at 4.5% and better at 4%. I'm not relinquishing the floor here. I would like to know if anyone thinks it is a bad or it's a good idea that we are sinking, that we are losing money. My bet is no one here will think it's a good idea that we're losing money. This again is that burn rate over time, and when I stared at this and I stared at this and I tried to figure out how do I get this point across, and I finally realized I'm too much of a wonk. I'm too much of an engineer. There's too many dots here. So I simplified the graph to this. This is the same graph. Actually, this is even easier to understand. It's the same graph, but I took out the variable years. This is that variable, very high tax increases. This is 5%, 4%, 4.5%, and 4%. And here's roughly 2 million that we're burning. Here's $1.5 million. We're burning 3.5 million that we're burning at the end of this. Basically, if we do 4% or we do 4.5%, we are in a worse position in 2017 than we are in now. It is only on this graph either the very high increase, which I am not proposing, or the 5% increase that we are in a better position. And I would say, and I wouldn't want to draw it any closer to that than this, because there are some variabilities to this, that if you do anything less than 4.75%, then you are going to wind up in a worse position in 2017 than you are now. And the other thing where I would ask council to raise your hand is, does anyone here not think it is our responsibility to fix this? I don't think it comes to anyone else. Now, I am open to anyone else coming up with any other ways to fix this, other revenues, any cuts that they want to make that would be substantial. But, I hear what's being proposed tonight, and some of it's good, some of it's bad. in my opinion. I think it's a reasonable thing to try to minimize the pain to council, but I would think this 4.75% is a rock bottom increase we could do. Now, I have to turn to Mr. Hodgelick. This is kind of a bit of a curveball that, in my mind, that Deputy Mayor Sherman has presented, because some of it is increased revenue. That's the Sandy money. It's one-time revenue, but it's increased revenue. And the other is a decrease in expenses. So and that's perpetual. Now, rates will go up. So I really like that one, and I have really no problem about taking that off. But I'm not sure what it does to this graph, because it's conceivable we don't have to go up as high as this number shows because we're decreasing our expense. So can you help me with the graph and tweak that, what I said was rock bottom of 4.75, and then take the numbers she's presented and churn those into that 4.75?
Actually, Councilman, I did have the opportunity to review the numbers that were proposed by the manager.
Thank God.
And with those changes, the increase is a 4.78% increase in the levy over 2012. So, you're just above the 4.75 rock bottom.
So she's proposing 4.78 essentially.
That's correct, right.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
Glad I called you.
Okay, so if, is there, after we vote on the amendment of Deputy Mayor Sherman, then we'll go back to the entire budget. Okay, any more discussion on I guess it's the amendment of Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Mayor, just wanted to make sure that it was clear, based on, based on our attorney's commentary, and I'm sure you could educate me more offline, I'll withdraw the motion to the amendment. To
The amendment to the amendment.
Revision.
No one seconded it.
Revision.
Yeah, right.
I can still withdraw it,
Yes, you can.
unless that's an issue.
Okay, all right, so thank you for that. Councilman Wright, you want to?
I have a question for our accountant. What does that 4.78 differ from that 5%?
$3.
$3.
On the average home. That's the difference in what when I did the calculation to do the difference between the amount. It's a cut of $67,000 overall, so that to the levy. So
$100,000, according to my calculation, if they were right, cuts $3 off the average homes.
Okay,
Right. So
two and change, I'm rounding up,
Okay,
I'm
fine,
sure, but
fine.
when I did the math, 2 point something, and it was over 2.5, I'm rounding up to 3. $3 on the average home is what $67,000 difference makes in the levy when you adjust the increase.
And the just extrapolating, or actually interpolating off this chart, I would say the burn rate would be just under 2 million a year. We're now, and saying these numbers really overemphasizes the accuracy of the chart, but just to give you we're at like 2.2 now, and we'd be like 1.9 now. So we'd be slightly better in 2017 if we did the 4.78 every year. Now, next year could do 5, or we could do 4, but just at the average, if we continued that.
But when you do it in the beginning years, remember, it's compounded.
Yeah.
Because when you raise, because you're talking about your levy base.
Right.
So
Right.
if you do it in the first, raising it 5% in year 6 is not the same as raising it as 5% in year 1.
Yeah.
So it has a, doing it that now, it has a much larger impact than it would be.
Okay.
Okay, and again, we're discussing the amendment, and after this vote, we're going to go back to the entire budget. So Councilwoman Francois.
Well, if there aren't any more questions, we should call the vote.
Yes.
Okay, right, we're going to vote on the revision.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And anything else on the revision, then we'll go to the budget. Okay.
I want to thank our counselor because he answered the question that I was going to ask.
Okay.
Whether this multiplies as we go down the road.
Good point.
So we can vote?
Yes, so Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the amendment on the revision, to place the savings as outlined by, in essence, the savings, by the manager as a reduction of our levy.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Now we come to the entire budget, which has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on the budget at all?
No, just in
Vasanella?
case anything else magically surfaces or drops on us, and I hope it does. So don't ever stop. If I know what tree to shake the money off, I'll let you know. But the question is, what room do we have if we did want to choose, assuming we adopt the, introduce it tonight, whatever the issue, what room do we have to add or delete? Legally, what are we allowed to add or delete?
You have
At
to
the
have
final, at the passage?
You have to have the public hearing on the budget, which is scheduled for May 14th.
Right.
And after the public hearing, you can amend the budget as you
So
see
after the
fit.
public hearing, if there was any reason by income or expense we're not aware of now, that would be the final time to flush out or have anything.
Correct. As long as you don't violate either the appropriations cap law or the levy cap law, once this budget is introduced, it's your budget.
Oh, you mean going on to, yeah, no, I understand. Well, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I just assumed that, but thanks for clarifying, Mr. Reno.
And I think what you're looking at is a decrease as opposed to an increase. So
Well, personally, I mean, I wanted 225, this is a good start, and maybe this will round up. Who knows, you could find an expense we didn't count on either, and we may have to raise it higher, so.
I won't stop looking. I mean,
What, for
I
increases or
certainly- No,
decreases?
decreces. I'll
Okay.
certainly look for.
I just wanted clarity on that, but thank you, and thank you for the work, Mr. Hodge.
Okay, any other discussions or amendments on the calendar year 2013 municipal budget as revised? Okay, then I'll come over here, and since we've discussed it before, I'll just try and be extremely succinct. I'll motion that our road repairs and capital budget is allocated at 2.5 million to make that 1.0 million instead. That's the motion. Is there a second? Okay, seeing no second, we'll go back to the original budget to see if there is a motion or discussion.
So, discussion.
Councilman Kramer.
Do we have a
So,
motion?
what?
Do we have a motion?
Oh, I think I've
Okay.
moved in second to introduce.
It is. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, parliamentarian. So on the issue of road resurfacing, I anticipated that point, but I also am compelled to speak only because I gave some information last time that needs correction, and if I'm involved in an error, I need to correct that. So very quickly, hopefully. The numbering system, we talked about it's from 1 to 5. Well, I asked the question, which is good, 1 or 5? And let's say between the message-er and the message-e, there was a confusion. So that changes things. I did check what I was told, and I went out and said, okay, this is a bad street according to the way I understand it, and I looked at Market Street, and it was a 5, so it was a bad street, so I figured, okay, 5 is bad. Well, 5 was good. So what I have asked is in the future, they letter the streets from A through F, skipping E. Some of you may be familiar with that grading system, and so now I don't think there'll be a confusion in the future. That being said, I had said last time that there was $20 million worth of streets that needed to be paved right now. It's actually 7.8 million or 8 million that need to be paved right now. There was $20 million of streets that were graded as 5, which is A, in 2009, but they were actually paved prior to 2005, so they may not be A now. And so I, in fact, looked at some of those streets. This is just a graph of how long will it take to pave streets if we pave at $2.5 million a year, or at $1.5 million a year, or at $1 million a year. The streets that need to be paved right this minute would take almost 8 years to pave. We've kind of answered that question, so I won't belabor it. But I will say that I did look at some streets. This is a constituent called me about Bort Road. That was rated as an A, the best, with normal maintenance. The comment was normal maintenance, pavement is in good condition with frequent slight cracking. Rideability is good with few slight uneven sections. Bort Road, oh gee, that doesn't project that well. I do hope the projectionist is showing this. I forgot to tell him to. Is off of Weston Road near where Weston crosses Elizabeth. And here's some pictures of Bort Road. Remember, in 2009, this was rated as the best condition. Here's some more pictures, some more pictures. So our Class 5 roads our A-rated roads can get worse. Here's Wortman Street in good old East Millstone, 2009, pavement's in good condition, rideability is good, and doesn't project very well, but you see a lot of cracks there, a lot of patches as we go farther down, significant patches. This road needs to be paved right now. And then Market Street was the same. Again, unfortunately, these don't show that well, but you can see significant patching there. Since we voted on this, unless the mayor wants to bring it up again, or someone else wants to bring it up again, I won't belabor the costs of patching, et cetera. I can stop my presentation now. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the clarification. Any other motions or discussion on the budget? Okay. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the introduction of the calendar year 2013 municipal budget and set public hearing date, which is item 16 on the agenda, resolution 13-175, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
I'm going to vote no now, then we'll see when we have our final hearing.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. The final hearing is May...
May 14th?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, Councilman Regan, please.
So unfortunately now, I need to comment. So the fact that you're a member of the Financial Oversight Committee, you were at the meetings, the majority of them, and going through this, and voting no on an introduction of this, to me, is not responsible. Just because you wanted to reduce $2.5 million in road pavement down to $1 million, yet you want to do that, but you wanted to forgive Millstone their money they owe us. You were willing to throw the money to another town, but yet you want to reduce the roads here. I find that irresponsible. You are a member of that Financial Oversight Committee meeting. You had time to make proposals to us, to work with us, to offer other possibilities and options. And as far as I recall, you didn't. The only thing you did is talked about the fact that you thought that the money we're allocating to road maintenance is too much. I can appreciate that and understand that. But to vote no on the introduction on that, that just has politics written all over to me.
Any other comments? Okay, then I'll answer. I totally resent saying irresponsible. I've been in this seat, I've been in this position for many, many years. I have been with the good, I've been with the bad, I've helped the people in the town, I've made hopefully many right decisions, I've made some wrong along the way. But it was always what I thought was best. And I wouldn't start talking about irresponsibility till we look at each of us our own records here. That is a total insult. I totally reject that. If you want to talk about the Finance Committee, I made this abundantly clear where I was coming from. There was no secret. I told everyone, I told you where I was coming from. I did not blindside you, which is my right if I want to. And don't tell me irresponsible when you get together with other people and make decisions, not including me, then come here and vote when I'm not privy to it, and now you turn it around because you don't like what I voted. I think that's irresponsible. But thanks for your thoughts.
Well, can I ask a question?
Sure. Councilman Wright.
Did you come up with an alternative budget that reflected that $1 million that you wanted paved? Did it come out that in my ward, when you look at paving of roads, I had to go to the freeholder to get one of my roads on the docket, and that's Franklin Boulevard. Now, there are many roads out there that need to be paved, so if you're telling me $1 million is going to fly, then explain it to the people here.
I'm not exactly sure what you asked. When you went to Franklin Boulevard, you got that paved. That was very good. Actually, a couple of us talked about some compromise in that specific situation, and that didn't come through. I'm not sure what you're asking me. Could you ask me? You're saying, will $1 million cut fix? I'm not sure what you're asking me.
You say $1 million for road paving.
Yes.
And I'm saying, how does that fly? Explain it.
That's the amount you put in the budget, and that's the amount you do. Are you asking me, will it keep the roads good or bad? I'm not sure what you're exactly asking me. Or can we legally or physically?
Would that keep the roads good, basically?
Well, in my opinion, yes. Not as good as I would like, but look, there's a lot of things I would like in town. I'd like to hire people so my, overburdened fire inspectors and public works and code people could have a little relief, but I can't do that. I'd like to hire police officers, as was discussed today, but I can't do that just yet. So there's a lot of things I'd like to do, and I can't do it just yet. I'd like to do things at home, but unfortunately my personal budget only has so much room. So will it? You know what? Maybe not. Maybe it'll make them messier, and maybe that's the wrong way to work a road. But that was my opinion. That is my opinion.
So, gentlemen, can we move on?
No, I have a comment.
Gentlemen, gentlemen, can we move on?
I have a comment.
Okay.
Okay, Councilman Kramer, and a comment to Councilwoman Francois, and then we'll come certainly back to you.
No, I don't have a comment. My comment was, gentlemen, can we move on?
Oh, no, my comment to you is, I was trying to do that. My motion, very succinct, because everyone knew where it was coming from. I didn't want to go on with it, so I did that. No real arguments. The vote, didn't complain, and I thought we would just go on then, but it's everyone's prerogative. Councilman Kramer.
Well, thank you for giving me my prerogative. So, first of all, I resent the implication that you've made many times in the past that there was some kind of meeting. Could you please tell me the date of the meeting, the occupants of that meeting, who was there? Because I certainly was not at any meeting where roads were discussed. So please let me know, and if there's any kind of infraction or impropriety, let's get it out there. Otherwise, if you don't have those specifics, then please apologize. Second to that, I've contacted you several times and tried to get together and discuss the roads. I wanted you to see my points. We talked briefly talking about it. I never heard back from you about doing that. So there was plenty of opportunity for you to contact me and talk to me about it. In addition to that, the roads are discussed fairly thoroughly at the Public Works Committee, which you're a member of, which I understand you have attended. Your attendance there is very poor. And I know at least you didn't go to one, because I went to it, because I figured if there's going to be an open seat, I might as well show up. It's within sunshine for anybody to show up. And I showed up and we discussed roads, and actually I was outvoted as to roads I wanted paved or not paved. Councilman Chase and Deputy Mayor Sherman had spent an inordinate amount of time driving around town looking at the roads that were suggested by the Public Works Department. the engineering department, and they had really, outdone me in their research, and so there was little I could argue about. And while I'm mentioning them, I'd also like to thank them for following their lead on, or for their initiative of talking to the manager. They'd promised to vacuum up the nickels when they campaigned last time. Well, they vacuumed up several 100,000 nickels this time. So I'd like to thank them for that.
Mayor?
I want to answer that. And again, just, we do not, Councilwoman Francois is right. This is an extra discussion, not on the agenda. If we wanted to amend it to put it on, that would be fine. So we're indulging each other, which maybe we shouldn't. But in answer to the question, in deference to the council person, I don't want to say it publicly in case he or she didn't want it made public, but I'll certainly tell you afterwards. Yes, no, my attendance at Public Works meetings have not been that good. They haven't. But here they are, but not there. And in, let's see, the other point was...
I had invited you to meet.
Oh, that's right. Thanks. And we did, right, we did miss each other's call. I think we sent a couple text messages, a couple voicemails, and if mine was not the last one, then that was inadvertent, because certainly I would have heard what you had to say. So I know you want to explain that to me. So again, if I won't offer any excuses there. If mine was the last miss, I'm sorry for that. Okay,
Mayor?
Councilman Vasanella.
Yeah, I'm not getting involved in this discussion, but I have been following this road program diligently, and perhaps I wasn't at the meeting that Mr. Kramer's talking about, but I've gone out and examined not only the roads on the list, but many others, so perhaps Councilman Kramer was not aware of that, but I respectfully suggest that I'm just as involved as any other council person in our road resurfacing program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If nothing else, we'll go on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda is item 17A through 17B, and one item was added since the initial one, but not since this version. So we've got items 17A through 17B. They're listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting. They're presented to the Township Council for adoption. Is there discussion or a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion for the consent agenda.
Mayor?
Okay.
Oh, I wanted one item removed, I'm sorry.
Okay. It's any council person's prerogative to remove an item for a separate vote. So let's do that first, then we'll go.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just actually the first one, letter A.
So 17A for a separate vote.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Any other separates? Okay. Pardon me. Councilman Prasad, consent agenda without item A then?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Any second on that?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the consent agenda with the exception of item 17A, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. The item for a separate vote is 17A on the agenda, Resolution 13-148, award non-fair and open professional service agreement, grant writer services as needed, T&M Associates, amount not to exceed $30,000. This is kind of renewing a contract, but with a change in how it is done. So, Councilman Vasanella, you want to discuss? You want an explanation of the difference?
No, the manager gave me a very complete explanation.
Okay. So is there a motion for item 17A, Resolution 13-148?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on 17A, Resolution 13-148, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yep.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
No.
Yes. I'm sorry.
You're a little taller than me.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Then we come
Mr.
to item 18.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, Councilman Regan.
Sorry, question for our attorney. So, given the fire budget is a separate budget.
Correct.
Right, and it's voted on.
Separate taxing district, correct.
Right. Why is it that they come to us to ask for their commissioner salaries?
Because the one quirk in the law.
Okay, just, because I just also want to make the point, because we're now getting asked that the commissioner chair has a bump in salary from $5,000 to $65,000. I mean, sorry, $5,000 to $6,500. And I'm confused as to why, like, that isn't just part of their budget and have a question versus coming to us.
Because there's a quirk in the law that all of the things that you said are true, except the law says that their compensation for the commissioners requires the approval of the governing body, of the council. I can't tell you, if you're asking me why it is that the legislature did that, I don't know, but that is the only vote you have with regards to their expenditure of funds. And remember, up until about 4 or 5 years ago, we never even got their, they never even sent them over to us.
Okay.
So you could reduce it if you wanted to, or not approve it.
Well, we just did. It was part of,
There you go.
it was a resolution, it was part of one of the items that we did, and when I asked for the last time, I never got information from them anyway, so.
I didn't have a question.
Okay, so now we go to item 18, resolutions voted on separately, of which there are none today. So item 19.
We did that.
Yeah, we did one.
I guess we kind of did in a way.
Red light. Yeah.
Okay. So we come to item 19, old business, 2013 boards and commission appointments. Is there a nomination for any of these vacancies?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Prasad.
we have an opening on the Health Advisory Board, and I would like to nominate Dr. Amit Malhotra, who has already submitted his application to the council, and
Oh, there it is. Okay. So I'm looking at this, Councilman Prasad.
Yeah.
Advisory Board of Health, regular member, vacant, is that the one? I'm looking at it.
Right.
Yes.
For the a term expiring, unexpired term, December 31st, 2013.
Right.
Okay, good. Any other nominations for this or other positions? Okay, I'm sorry, Councilman Prasad, what's the
Amit
gentleman's name?
Malhotra.
Dr. Malhotra?
Dr. Malhotra.
Okay.
Boy, another doctor.
I know. We've got to fight fire with fire.
At least his mother's proud. Okay, so all in favor of...
He's one of our newest residents in Summerfield.
Really? Okay,
Yes.
very good.
So, and he's
Very
he's
good.
a spirited young man, so I thought we should give him a chance to volunteer.
Okay.
We didn't hold that he's a doctor against him.
Mistake.
Okay, all in favor of Dr. Malhotra by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Dr. Malhotra, we're glad to have you here. And we have an executive session, that's item 20 on the agenda. That's resolution 13-195, executive session resolution, contract negotiations with Hampton Chase. Is there a motion for the resolution as presented to the council?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the resolution for executive session, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Excuse me.
Oh, it's to me?
No,
Councilman
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes. I'm sorry, yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vastanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Okay, motion is carried. Executive session is where the council meets privately. We can only do that under certain occasions, such as personnel matters or contract negotiations. And this one is labeled contract negotiation. So we're going to into executive session. After executive session, we will only do 2 pieces of business when we're done. Number 1, we'll vote to come out of executive session. Number 2, we will vote to adjourn. And since that's the only business to be handled after we come out of executive session, our taping will stop at this point. Thank you very much. Have a happy tax day.
That's just yours.